What's going on, guys? It's Combat Sports Central back with another video. Today we're actually doing something a little bit different that might take precedent into the future. It's called Before the Event, where we take a look at a UFC event before it airs live. We talk about the main event, co-main event, a little bit about the rest of the card, and then after the event we recap it in what we did basically this week for the MMA Talk episode number 2. So today we're going to be looking at UFC 242, and the series is going to be called Before the Event. The UFC returns to Abu Dhabi for the first time since Fight Night Nogueira-Nelson in 2014, and it's only the second pay-per-view next to UFC 112 to ever be held there. The UFC will pit undefeated lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is claiming to be in the hometown guy in this fight, against interim lightweight champion Dustin the Diamond Poirier in what was declared as a champ versus champ title fight. UFC star Khabib Nurmagomedov will return 11 months out from the UFC pay-per-view record UFC 229 performance against arguably one of the biggest stars in combat sports, the notorious Conor McGregor. This was Khabib's 27th consecutive victory, first UFC title defense, and his 11th victory inside the UFC octagon. Dustin, on the other hand, at 25-5, is coming to the event, has been on his own tear recently since moving from featherweight to the UFC lightweight division. With 9 wins in his last 10 fights in the division, he defeated featherweight champion Max Holloway most recently in a lightweight interim bout to earn a shot against the undisputed champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. Dustin has made the claim that if he goes in and stops Khabib Nurmagomedov, he should be considered the greatest lightweight of all time. Khabib, on the other hand, already feels that way about himself, but has notably mentioned that he only hopes to fight 3 more fights before retiring at 30-0. He'd like to defeat Dustin Poirier this Saturday night, then go on to defeat Tony Ferguson and finalize his career at 155 with a win over one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, Georges St. Pierre. Chael Sonnen mentioned that he doubts Khabib in this fight with Dustin. However, odds makers have it that Dustin is the 3-1 underdog, and some even have you multiplying your money by 4 if you make a bet on the diamond. So the claims in this fight going in are going to be greatest of all time, greatest lightweight of all time, and the lightweight division has been pretty thin for its champions on win streaks minds. Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn, those are 2 of the names that you would put up there for greatest lightweight of all time, but the list is short and there's few and far between on that list. So Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, and Khabib Nurmagomedov all make a good claim to be one of the greatest lightweights of all time. And I think that whoever is able to complete that trifecta, whoever is able to complete defeating each and every one of each other, say Khabib defeats Dustin and Tony, say Tony defeats Dustin and Khabib, then they should be considered the greatest lightweight of all time. So therefore, there really is a lot going into this fight for anybody considering legacy-wise that they could be considered the greatest of all time in one of what is now one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. We also even have Conor McGregor as an outside factor in all of this, where he could bounce back off the loss against Khabib and maybe come back and beat Dustin and Tony and then maybe rematch Khabib later on in the MMA career. But I think Khabib is not going to stick to his words of fighting 3 more times unless everything goes perfectly. Like he gets the fight with Tony and him go perfectly down the road, which is going to be very, very hard to do, especially in the game of MMA. As for the fight between Dustin and Khabib, I think Khabib is going to win a decision. By the end of the night, I think we're going to have the same thing that we usually have with a Khabib fight, another dominant 5-round decision where maybe Dustin can pull through in one of the rounds because Khabib is known to take a round off. I don't think Dustin has a extremely high-level gas tank for the division. He proved something to me with the Max Holloway fight, but that was kind of an outlier in his entire career. In the Gaethje fight, he's been on a pretty good tear of distance fights, but I think with Khabib Nurmagomedov, with him taking him down at all times, putting a lot of pressure on Dustin, I think he's going to get tired out. He's going to lose some of the first couple rounds, and then by the time that Dustin's really going to try and put something on Khabib, where Khabib might show flashes of fatigue, I think it's just going to be too late, and we're going to get a decision for Khabib Nurmagomedov. Other opinions on the fight might be that Dustin Poirier might rip the body of Khabib, just like Stipe Miocic did to Khabib's teammate, Daniel Cormier. Now, it's a significantly successful strategy going to the body against wrestlers because they keep their hands high, and they look for big looping strikes, which you can see with Khabib landing that one on Conor McGregor. But nonetheless, this is going to be a fun fight. If Dustin leaves that octagon with the belt, it might be one of the greatest upsets in the history of the UFC. But there are a lot of people that aren't counting Dustin out in this fight. And it's for reasonably so. There's a lot of reasons why Dustin can win this fight, including his heart and determination that he's been showing in this recent run of lightweight wins. But as for the co-main event, the Irish Dragon Paul Felder rematches Edson Barboza, who last defeated Felder in 2015, handing Felder his first loss as a professional. Felder comes in at 4-1 in his last 5 fights, with the only loss coming at 170 against Mike Perry, where Felder reportedly suffered an arm injury early in the fight. The first fight between Edson Barboza and Paul Felder ranked number 15 in the best fights of 2015 according to Tapology, and has all the makings of a great co-feature bout. 2 stand-up fighters, 2 well-rounded stand-up fighters, 2 with big striking and some good finishes on their career. Odds makers have Barboza listed as the slight favorite in the rematch, and Felder wants to avenge his loss. If you play on the odds, previous winners in rematches are 42-19 in the second fight, and as the favorite are 28-8. However, Barboza, on a string of a couple losses, rides a 1-3 record in his last 4, with his last performance being a knockout loss to Justin Gaethje. As for the rest of the card, you have some talent throughout it. Islam Makhachev, who has won his last 5 fights and 17 of his first 18. His opponent at 10-2 also rides a formidable streak of wins at 4 in a row. They say styles make fights, and this is a one where we get a solid wrestler against a solid jiu-jitsu specialist with all the makings of being a kickboxing fight. Because you know if there's a wrestler versus a jiu-jitsu specialist, the wrestler can take the jiu-jitsu specialist down, but do they really want to be in hot water with a guy that's so good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? We're going to find out on the third fight of the night. We also have on the card top 10 heavyweight Curtis Blades featured on the main card. The card will start at 2 p.m. Eastern time and should be an absolutely great fight card. The week after actually showcases some even better fights, but we'll talk about that next week. Make sure in the comment section below you let me know who you guys have in the main event between Dustin the Diamond Poirier and Khabib Nurmagomedov. But that will do it for this video and today's episode of Before the Event. The first ever episode of Before the Event comes to a close. I'm hoping to probably do another Before the Event this week, probably tomorrow or even maybe later on today. We're actually going to look at Bellator 226, Ryan Bader, Czech Congo for the heavyweight strap in Bellator. Also the beginning of the featherweight Grand Prix there. Maybe we'll do a Before the Event for that to bring you guys up to speed on what you can look forward to on that card. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, remember to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. We've been going up on subs like crazy. We have a sub goal. Fuck, I can't get this camera down. What? Okay. We got a sub goal up here. Make sure you hit that sub goal. 570 subscribers. We will be live for Khabib versus Poirier UFC 242 on the channel, talking to you guys about the fights, watching them together. So make sure you're subbed to the channel to get all of that good stuff. If you enjoyed, smash the like button. But that'll do it for me today. Peace out, guys.